Run one with Top Step is complete. I failed the combine. So in this video, I'm going to be reviewing every trade made through the first run and putting them in a tier list. So to start, I have no S tier trades, so I'm not going to need S tier, and I have plenty of F tier trades. The first trade is I was shorting an H pattern. It failed, and then I flipped and went long. So that's going to be A tier because I am short a pattern I like to short, recognize that it's failing, and also recognize that I'm at the low of the 30-minute range, which I like to trade off of to the long side. Flipped long, and then it ended up moving through the range a little bit. So that's an A tier trade. That's pretty much as good as it gets for what I do. Trade two, I longed in the middle of the range, and then it went to the range high and I didn't exit, and then it came back and ended up being a loss via stop out, and that's absolute D tier. Longing in the middle or interacting in the middle of the range is not part of my strategy, so I don't even know why I did that. And then to end up in a loss, that's pretty bad. Trade three, I longed to look above and fail. Oh, and I have no idea why I did that. Oh, I longed to look above for it to keep going, and then it ended up failing afterwards. That's C tier, so it's not great, but that is part of the trades that I make. Four is I longed for the break above the 30-minute range, and then it happened. I have it listed as C tier, and the main reason is just my trade location was not good. So it's a trade I look for, which would usually put it more towards B tier, but I didn't execute it very well, so I'll give that one C tier. Trade five, I longed for a break of the high, ended up being a scalp. I'll also give that a C tier. It's just not much to that. It's a trade I do, but it didn't really have a very strong setup. Trade six was a really, really good trade. So that's going to be at least B tier. That's A tier. So that was, we had a break and retest, and I waited and pretty much caught the end of the retest. Right when I was in, it started taking off. That's an A tier. That's the closest thing to an S tier trade in this list. That was a good one. Trade seven, I was looking for a high of range break and it failed. And so that's a C tier trade. The reason that I don't rank those a little bit lower is because, obviously it looks obvious looking back at the chart, but when the chart's forming, it's hard to tell. So really, if I'm going to take that type of trade, that's an average setup, it's something I take. C tier trade. Trade eight was pretty good. So I ended up catching along at the low of the range and rode it to near the high. and it ended up breaking out. So that's a really good trade. My trade location was not the greatest, so that's what separates it from an A tier trade. So it ends up B tier. Trade 9, I longed I longed a cup and handle, which I don't trade as often as a 30-minute range, but I really nailed the trade. So I was in at the low of the cup and out towards the top. So just really clean pattern and executed well. It's not A tier because I don't really make that trade very often, so I kind of broke away from what I usually do. Either way, solid B tier trade. Trade 10, I so trade 10 was a loss. Trade 10 was a bad loss, but I'm actually okay. This is probably the best loss I took. So I'm gonna put that B tier because I was trading a look below and fail, which I like to trade. And really the issue with this trade was I just had too much size. In terms of the trade itself, though, I still like the trade. It's a trade I'll make in the future. And really the change to make is to just not be at 2 contracts, just be at 1 contract. That way, if it's a loss, it's half the loss than at 2 contracts. But as a trade, even though it failed, I like that trade and I want to take a trade like that in the future. So B tier loss, trade 11 was D tier. So I longed C tier. So I longed at a good location. I longed it near the 30-minute low, but it was just kind of a big downtrending day. So really to go against that is, yeah, it's just not great. So it's not D tier for me because I did have a good trade location, but I was ignoring the bigger time frame, and that's by trade location. It's more like a B tier trade, but I was just ignoring the bigger time frame. Actually, you know what, it is a D because the bigger time frame matters a lot more. So not a good trade overall. Trade 12 got a nice break and retest. Just longed it very well. A tier trade. Trade 13F. This definitely an F tier trade. Might be the worst trade. Definitely up there with one of the worst trades of this run. I took a trade in the middle of the range, which is just never a good location. Ended up being wrong, right? So it was a loss. And looking back at it, it didn't even have the semblance of. I was trying to force a pattern onto it. It didn't really have the semblance of a pattern. So every time I look at this trade, I just think to myself, what was it? I just forced a trade. Is the answer? I had some sort of like FOMO or tilt, forced a trade, and then it didn't work. So it's just that's F tier. Trade 14 was a very D tier trade. I longed for the high of range, and then we started chopping around. I like that I exited early, but my trade location was not good. I wasn't patient enough. I could have waited through the chop, or I could have waited just a little bit to see if we chop or we have a clean break and a retest. I didn't do any of that. I got in way too early, so that's just not a good trade. This Trade 15 is an H here trade. I got long at the low of the 30-minute range, had a very clear target above, executed very well. So it's a good trade. Trade 16 is D tier. So my trade location was just so bad. I was looking for a bounce off the 30-minute low. It happened. The trade left without me, and then I got in anyway. So just good idea. Just the execution on that was just so poor. It's D tier. Trade 17 was this was a pretty good trade. So it was a higher low off the 30-minute low. So I either missed or was just waiting through the 30-minute low to see if it would break. And we formed a little bit of a higher low. I detected that, got in, and then played for the move towards the range high. That was a pretty good trade, B tier. This is when the train comes off the tracks. So this trade kind of hurt me, and I didn't really realize it until watching it back. Is I got in at a pretty bad trade location, got in early, and then it ended up going to a target that I had, but I didn't have the take profit in at the time. And I remember this trade being up for quite a bit, it's just $100 or so. And me just doing nothing, waiting for it to go back to that high. But essentially it tagged my take profit. My take profit wasn't there at the time, backed off, and it wicked very hard. I could see all that, and I was just very greedy to let it stay. I wanted it to try to hit again. And then it ended up going the other way. So it was just the worst of everything. I missed it, which happens. I didn't get out when I detected weakness, and then I ended up getting stopped out of it. So that was a really bad trade that kind of put me on tilt. And then the next trade is also the next trade is D tier. So on the same day, which that's the issue. I should have just stopped trading after that first trade because I spent so much mental capital on it that I would have been better off just calling it a day, accepting the loss, accepting all the mistakes, and moving on. I ended up taking another trade, which was we were coming into the 30-minute low. So I got in early, which is already kind of a mess because we failed at the 30-minute high and we hadn't reached the 30-minute low yet. So we're coming into the 30-minute low with tons of momentum, and I'm going the other direction, which granted, if it works, that's nice. But at that stage of the day, there's still plenty of momentum to the downside. And then we end up going to the 30-minute low. So I'm already in drawdown because I get in too high. And then the 30-minute low breaks. And then I have a bad loss. So, yeah, I got to give that an F tier. It's the only redeeming quality of it is actually there are no redeeming qualities of it because the trade location was awful, the momentum was clearly down. If I didn't want to short it, I should have just done nothing. I just should not have done that trade at all. So it's F tier. Trade 20 was all right. I longed the 30-minute break of the high. and ended up getting the move. So it was a solid trade, decent execution, decent look. I was a little bit patient with it. So yeah, overall B tier trade. And then trade 21 is F tier because I had just made trade 20 and then I tried to double dip. So we broke above range, it wicked higher, came back into range. And once it comes back into range, I need to be more cautious of that because I thought that it may wick in the range and then keep, turn around and keep going to the upside. But a couple shorter term candles closed in range and I still longed it. So that's just it's it's just it's just blatant disrespect for what's possible when the look above it's temporarily failed and it's not really showing strong signs of holding. So that was absolutely an F tier trade. Just I think what it is I wanted more out of trade 20 and I just wanted more. So I thought there was more, but there was really nothing to indicate that there was more for a trade 21. So that was a bad trade. These next couple trades, 20 through 25, are all related. This was the day I overtraded. So I actually really like trade 25. So trade 22 is C tier at best. I shorted for a look above and fail, which had been happening lately. And then I recognized that the short was no good. And then I got out, flipped long. So I'm calling trade 22 just the short and trade 23 when I flipped long. They could be all one trade, but I'm just separating them here. Trade 23, I'm happy with. It's okay. So piggybacking off of, all right, I'm short. I recognize weakness. It's not going the right way. Flip long, and then we have strength. I like all that. I don't feel like I executed it extremely well or really saw it extremely well to make it anything above a C tier. But it is a trade I look for and I took it. Trade 24 is I'm gonna give that a D tier because I had just tried to short, it didn't work. I flipped long. And then I was thinking that it could still be a look above and fail, which it could have been. So I shorted. But I didn't really short with strong targets in mind, and I didn't really short with strong confirmation. I really just did it because it had been happening lately, which is part of trading, is what trades have been working. But I didn't really see anything that, if I didn't know what had been happening, I would have no confirmation to make that trade. It was just all hindsight kind of creeping back up. So what I do like about that, why it's not F tier, is I recognized that the trade was weak and I flipped long. And then this trade, I'll give it a C tier. So I'm in for essentially a break and retest and captured a good chunk of the move. But it was after all that running around, if I'm short, I'm long, I'm short, I'm long. So this day ended up being profitable. And to some extent, I may consider trying to trade like that in the future, especially if what I'm doing, if I can't pass the combine doing what I'm doing, I'm gonna have to make changes. But when I'm moving around like that, I'm short, I'm long, and I don't know, it just feels like I'm not positioning well. I'm just kind of guessing a little bit. So there's nothing really wrong with it. It's just not my style right now. So I can't, I just can't give it anything more than a C right now. Then last trade was F tier. That was just, the account was kind of like $200 away. I'm tilted. I know that if I get this to pass, I got a reset coming up. If I want to get this account to pass, I'm just thinking very YOLO-y, which I don't like to do. So it's just a complete F tier trade. Like I had no business making the trade when I did. It was just a last ditch effort to try to get something back. So looking at this tier list, I just have way too many D and F trades, and the D and F trades cost more than I make in the A trades. So there are a lot of issues here. First is frequency. D and F trades are too frequent. Over the course of any given run, I'd really like to have no F trades, but realistically, maybe just one. I have 5. Even D tier trades they're just way too common here. I have 5 of them. I only made 25-ish trades. So that's 10 out of 25. So that's what, of 40% of all of the trades that I made in this run were not even average. That's bad. That's really bad. And these were expensive, a lot of them. So that's the number one place I can clean up, is turning the D tier trades into C tier trades, either by better location, just straight up not taking them, being more patient, maybe being less patient, just doing something about them. And the F tier trades were all, I look at them and they don't even make sense to me for what I look for. A lot of these trades, I'm taking a trade in the middle of the range, going against a longer term trend, at least on the 1 hour, 4 hour. It's like, what am I doing? So cleaning this up, I think, will help a lot. The C tier trades I expect to be the most common, and they are. C tier trades, as a result, some of them are gains, some of them are losses. This is just kind of to be expected. My B tier trades, I do have one B tier loss that I just consider to be a good setup for what I'm looking for. It did result in a loss. But essentially, what makes it a B tier trade is I would just take it over and over again. I know any trade, any pattern can fail. So that's just part of the game. So these I executed well. I liked what I saw. I liked what I did. I don't know that these trades can be pushed much more. But in this upper range, it's all about pushing these, trying to find a way to make these either more frequent or just get more out of them. The A tier trades, these are all good location. Most of these, I think all of these kept going another 5, maybe even 10 points. So here I was really onto something, and I just let it go too early. So looking back on these trades, it's going to be about what can I do to hold on here. I would say just looking at this, thinking through all the trades and thinking through all the numbers, I do think on the next run I'll be better served to just clean up the D and F tier. I think that could be enough because the account was up at one point. It's not like I was never up. It's not like I can't make winning trades. I can make them. Maybe refining my strategy a little bit, but overall, I do like what I'm doing for now. You know, if I keep failing combines, I will make a change, but I'm going to try it a couple more times. So yeah, I think just cleaning this up might be enough. Anyway, that's it. That's the run one is complete, ended in failure. This is every trade ranked, and I got some work to do before run two.